Hello, and welcome. Have you ever wondered what was happening in the unseen realm during one of the most pivotal moments in history, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ? We often focus on the human perspective, the disciples, Mary, the crowds. But what about the angels? Today, we are going to explore this profound and awe-inspiring question. How did the angels witness Jesus' sacrifice on the cross? The Bible tells us that angels are deeply interested in God's plan of salvation. The Apostle Peter writes that these are things into which angels long to look. Imagine that. The celestial beings, who dwell in the presence of God, are captivated by the story of redemption. This wasn't just another event for them. It was the culmination of a divine promise they had watched unfold since the beginning of time. To understand their perspective, we must first remember who Jesus is to them. He is not just a prophet or a good man. He is their Creator, their Lord, the King of heaven. The book of Colossians says, "For by him all things were created, in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. Whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through him and for him." The very angels who would witness his suffering were brought into existence by his divine power. Think about the moment of Jesus' arrest in the Garden of Gethsemane. As the guards approached, Peter drew his sword, but Jesus stopped him, saying, "Do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels?" A Roman legion had up to 6,000 soldiers. 12 legions would be more than 72,000 angels. Imagine that celestial army, poised and ready, awaiting a single word from their commander. Every fiber of their being must have strained to intervene, to protect their king from the humiliation and pain that was to come. Yet, the command never came. The silence from Jesus was a testament to his resolve. The angels were held back, not by a lack of power, but by the strength of divine love. They were commanded to stand down, to watch as their Lord willingly submitted himself to the hands of sinful men. Can you imagine the holy tension of that moment? It must have been a profound lesson for them in the nature of sacrificial love and obedience to the Father's will. As Jesus was led through the streets of Jerusalem, beaten and mocked, the angels would have been there, unseen but present. They who had announced his birth with glorious praise now watched in solemn silence as the world he came to save rejected him. They saw the crown of thorns pressed into his head, the head they had worshipped. They saw the spit and the ridicule hurled at the one before whom they cast their own crowns. Their view was one of perfect, holy sorrow. They understood the depth of the injustice in a way no human could. Then came the cross. As the nails were driven into his hands and feet, a sound must have echoed through the heavens. The angels, who exist to serve and worship the Son of God, watched as he was tortured. What did they feel? The Bible doesn't give us a direct emotional account, but we can infer from their nature. They are beings of perfect holiness and justice. Seeing perfect innocence suffer at the hands of profound evil must have stirred a righteous, holy indignation within them. They would have seen the sin of humanity in its rawest, most ugly form, directly contrasted with the perfect purity of their Creator. Throughout the hours Jesus hung on the cross, the spiritual battle was raging. This wasn't just a physical event. It was a cosmic one. The powers of darkness were celebrating what they thought was a victory. But the angels knew better. They understood the bigger picture. They knew that this act of apparent weakness was, in fact, the greatest display of power the universe had ever seen. They were witnessing the very act that would disarm the principalities and powers, as Paul later wrote in Colossians. Think of the 3 hours of darkness that fell over the land. While humans on the ground were filled with fear and confusion, what did the angels see? Perhaps they saw the Father turn his face away, not from a lack of love, but because he was laying the sin of the entire world upon his Son. In that moment, Jesus was utterly alone, bearing a weight no angel could ever comprehend, let alone carry. The angels, who had always known unbroken fellowship with the Godhead, were witnessing a divine mystery, the separation of the Son from the Father for our sake. This must have been the most staggering and heart-rending moment of all for them. They heard his final words, "It is finished." For the people at the foot of the cross, this may have sounded like a cry of defeat. But for the angelic hosts, it was a shout of ultimate triumph. It was the declaration that the debt of sin had been paid in full. Redemption was accomplished. The plan they had longed to look into had been completed. The victory was won. When Jesus breathed his last, the veil in the temple was torn in two. This was a powerful symbol. The way to God was now open for all humanity. The angels who had once guarded the way back to the tree of life in Eden with a flaming sword, now saw that the way into the presence of God was cleared not by a sword of judgment but by the blood of the Lamb. Their role was forever changed. They were no longer just guardians of a holy place, but fellow servants with us in the kingdom of God, ministering to those who will inherit salvation. And what about the resurrection? Imagine the joy. The angel who rolled away the stone did so not to let Jesus out, but to let the world in, to show them that the tomb was empty. The angels at the tomb were the first evangelists, proclaiming the good news. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. After the silence and sorrow of the crucifixion, heaven must have erupted in thunderous praise. The King was alive. Death was defeated. Their Lord had triumphed over the grave. So, when we look at the cross, let's remember the unseen audience, the countless angels who watched in silent awe, holy sorrow, and ultimate adoration. They witnessed the depth of God's love, the horror of our sin, and the power of Jesus' sacrifice. Their perspective adds a profound dimension to the story, reminding us that the events of Calvary were not just for earth, but for all of creation, visible and invisible. It was a spectacle for the ages, a divine drama that secured our salvation, and will be the subject of their praise for all eternity. Thank you so much for joining me today to reflect on this incredible topic. If this message resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more content that explores the depths of faith.